WWE Smackdown results. It wasn't a lot of big stuff. It was just a few little pointers, but we're still going to talk about it because it may wind up all being important. Let's start off with Grayson Waller being interviewed, and he said, I'm getting pretty much, I'm getting attention from all over the world, including The Rock. And then he looked off with that look. You know that look The Rock has when he goes, the millions. You know that look I'm talking about. Um, then, he just kept talking about, you know, um, him, basically. You know how he brags on himself. And then at the end, he said, if you can smell what I'm cooking. And then he walked off. Again, The Rock. And then why did they show the bloodline right after that? The bloodline situation from last week, that got shown. The picture. When they say, when they advertise, they said we discussed last week's brawl next. That popped up on the screen right after this. Something that's interesting that's there. That's very interesting. Then they showed all the clips of the Bloodline Brawl, all of last week. We talked about it. By the way, if you didn't check it out, check it out. It's on my channel. Um, it was from last week. Man. But anyways, then they said that Jimmy suffered a something in the rib cartilage something, and he'll be out of action for the foreseeable future. Okay, next time Roman Reigns has a title defense, Jimmy's gonna show up. That's for sure. But yeah, we'll just have to just wait and see when that is. Then Jey Uso was out there, and he was talking to the fans at first, and then it got interrupted by Paul Heyman, and you know how Paul Heyman does. My name is Paul Heyman. He does that every single time, right? And then Paul Heyman started trying to get into his head and was talking about, oh, it's your fault why Jimmy got destroyed and why Jimmy is in the hospital and all this. And then looked in the camera and almost like he said Jimmy, almost like he was talking to Jimmy, right? He said Jimmy, he said it's your twin brother's fault. And it's like he was really getting in his head. He was like, "It's your fault." He said, "Your mother's never gonna forgive you. Your father's never gonna forgive you. Like your family's not gonna forgive you." Like, how do you know this, Paul? And then he was like, Roman Reigns won't forgive you." And then Solo stuck his hand out like tribal chief. And then he wanted the microphone. Paul Heyman gave him the microphone. Solo walked up to him and he said, "I'll never forgive you either." And then it was just a stare down. And then Jay threw the first punch. It winded up turning into an all-out brawl. You know how this goes. And then super kick Solo fell out of the ring. And then Jay was looking at Paul Heyman. He was like, "Oh yeah, I have you now, Paul." But Solo came right back from behind. And then Paul Heyman was going to go get a chair. Meanwhile, Solo was going for the spike. Jimmy was able to reverse it and started pounding down on Solo with punches. And then Paul Heyman came back. Super kick. Down goes Paul Heyman. And then right after that, Jay jumped through the ropes, boom, into Solo. And then Paul Heyman and Jay were looking at each other, and they were both looking at the chair. Jay picked up the chair like he was getting ready to use it on Paul. Solo ran back in there to get hit with the chair, and that was pretty much it. Paul Heyman and Solo winded up being in retreat. And they talked about how Roman Reigns is going to be there next week, Friday Night SmackDown, on FS1 instead of Fox. Okay, so yeah, I'm also, I guess, I'm doing my own little advertising for WWE, I guess, right? Without really even realizing it. But yeah, peeps, that's it for this video. Peace out, peeps.